Hello, and welcome to another edition of Warp 9 Wednesday. I am Dan from the internet, also from Extra Gaming and Warp 9 Comics. What do we do here? Well, we talk about a bunch of stuff that came out on Wednesday that we received here at Warp 9 Comics, and give you some ideas of maybe some stuff you want to read, some stuff you don't want to read, and then some other collectible stuff that we got in this week. First things first, not a ton of collectible side of things this week. So I've got a couple of Pokemon things to talk about and then a few little figurines. And then we're going to jump right into the comics. Some weeks are going to be like this. There's not going to be a ton of stuff to talk about. It is what it is, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's what I do. And so anyway, might as well get this thing rolling because, as usual, I'm tired. It's a long day on Wednesdays, but I like doing this, so we're going to do it anyway. First things first this weekend, Jody the card guy. He is our card guy here at Warp 9 Comics. He's the one who kind of does the gift sets and all that jazz. We don't got to deal with it. He brought in the Team Skull collection. Really, really cool. Obviously, it comes with the Team Skull button, which is dope. And then it comes with 4 exclusive cards, and you've got 5 packs in this thing. It's a really nice little set. Goes for about $35, but if you were a fan of the Sun and Moon video game, obviously this is kind of a must-have. Otherwise, if you're looking for something new Pokemon-wise, as long as you're looking for something Pokemon-wise for gifts for anybody coming up, this is a cool little gift for sure, especially because of the little button. Forgot to get the DC Halloween edition and throw it in my box for me. Yeah, I can do that. Not a problem, Jim. Just remind me when I'm done here because I can't do it right this second. Next thing we got, this thing is gigantic. It's the Shining Legends premiere box, or premium box. Sorry, premiere box. This thing is crazy, man. This thing comes with a figurine, 4 exclusive cards, 10 packs, a play mat, 3 boxes, empty boxes for cards and everything. These things are sweet, man. These things are absolutely awesome. There's going to be another one coming out, I want to say in a couple of weeks. It's going to be featuring more of the full art trainers. So this is a definite Christmas gift for somebody who's really into Pokemon. This is one of those things that is definitely a must-have, especially because of the full art Ho-Oh in there, because Ho-Oh is a lot of people's kind of favorite little Pokemon guy. So, gigantic box. This thing will set you back right around $80, but if you get it from us, it's just $80 out the door, opposed to $80 plus tax. Because our card guy pays the tax for you guys. That thing's heavy. Next thing we got from the Marvel Select line, Netflix Daredevil. If you haven't really gotten any of the Marvel Select line, these things are really cool, mainly because for $25, they're a little bit bigger than Marvel Legends, and especially the bigger ones, I think I've talked about the Hulk, the Juggernaut and stuff. Those are definitely worth your money. These are cool too as well, especially if you like your figures a little bit bigger, like I said, than the Marvel Legends line. A little bit less articulation, but they're really nice, and they usually come with some sort of backdrop, either a in this case, he's standing in front of the sliding door from the big fight scene, I think in the first season. But this is based obviously on the Netflix Daredevil, and set you back about $25, and they look cool on a shelf too if you leave them in the boxes like that. They've all got really cool artwork on the side. So I showed off the Spider-Man Homecoming last week. This week we got Daredevil. So got a couple of these in stock still. So if you guys are interested in, otherwise if you know somebody who is. Another thing we don't get a lot of video game merchandise here because the video game stuff just doesn't really move for us, even though, obviously this is more of a video game platform that I'm on. But, we get some stuff. One of the things that we got is this guy here. This is the Breath of the Wild Link figure that came out a little while ago, but we just now got it in this store, obviously. This thing will set you back right around $90, but really nice, made out of PVC. Good, it's not too heavy, and it's not made out of a ton of little parts that are going to break off, like a resin statue. I kind of like when PV statues are done well, and this one's done really well, especially as far as the paint job goes. Really nice paint job. So I'm always okay with spending right around $90 on a figure as long as the quality is there. It drives me nuts when you see these resin figures that are $150 and the paint job is just god awful. Or you can tell the design just wasn't really very good at all, But yeah, Jim, this is right up your alley, man, because this thing is dope if you're a fan of the a fan of the game. It comes with the ancient arrow, which is really, really cool. And, I love the design of the Breath of the Wild Link. It's one of the better designs they've done of him, for sure. It's absolutely fantastic. So, I don't expect this guy to last through Christmas. I'd be shocked if it did. But then again, though, we still got one from, 2 years ago. Not this Link, obviously, but a different Link. People look at it all the time, but they don't really want to drop the change on it because, their money's tied up in video games. Speaking of video games, I'm actually going to talk a little bit about... just because I don't have a ton of stuff to talk about today, I'm going to talk a little bit about my impressions of the new South Park game, because I've been kind of playing that. I've been playing it off stream, though. I've been having some problems with my leg, and then I broke my toe, so it's been tough for me to try to get on a path of streaming and getting back to normal. But Mario comes out Friday, and I'm definitely going to get back onto the video game streaming and try to buckle down a little bit. So just been having some other issues outside of work, but I'm going to get back to normal here. Last thing I got to show off is this guy. This is the Hot Toys John Bernthal Punisher, based on the Daredevil show. It irked me a little bit that they put the Daredevil, title on the front of the box, which I was like, that's kind of whack. But it does say Punisher on the side here. 6 scale, like a typical Hot Toy. Like I said, based on John Bernthal. It comes with part of Daredevil's helmet. I have been told that the helmet cannot go on the other Daredevil figure, so if you buy one of these expecting that helmet to go on the Daredevil figure, it's not going to work. It's not how they do things. But it's cool how they did kind of like the skull a little bit on the outside here as far as the packaging goes. And it's very much based on his later in the show version where he's got the skull on the chest. I was worried if they were going to do it from Daredevil, they might not give him the skull chest, which I was like, that's really stupid if you do that. But they know what they're doing over there at Sideshow. Comes with a gun. I think it comes with a really big gun, too, like a Gatling gun. A knife, like I said, handgun, sniper rifle. So, you can do all sorts of great stuff. Or, if you ever just want to, break him out there and pretend like he's Shane again, you can just have him get his vengeance on Rick. From 1,000 yards with that sniper rifle. These guys, obviously, it's a Marvel Hot Toy. The Marvel Hot Toys are always more money than their counterparts for some reason, because everything Marvel does needs to be more expensive. I have no idea. It's probably because of their mouse overlord at the Disney. There we go. But these guys will set you back right. This one will set you back right around $235 plus tax, but with his show starting November 17th, I would imagine they're probably going to make another one of these. The cool thing about Hot Toys is when you get one, like the first one, by the time they make another one or like a third one, a lot of times people will go back to the first one and be like, oh, I like the first one way better, and then they'll either maintain their value or they'll go up in value. So they're definitely for the serious fan, but they are worth the money. They're worth every penny, in my opinion. Move on to some comic stuff. Few DC books, and then we got some Marvel stuff for sure. Like I said, this one's going to be a little bit of a shortened stream, mainly because of there's just not a ton of stuff to talk about as far as new stuff. I like to kind of keep it new with the newer stuff. First thing though, we got ourselves a new story arc of Teen Titans. This is the return of Kid Flash. It's actually our featured book this week at the store. It's seeing Damian Wayne wants to add a new member to the team. The team wants him to bring back Kid Flash. Robin doesn't want that. He wants it to be Emiko Queen, who is Green Arrow's sidekick. She likes to call herself Red Arrow. She is a trained martial artist and an archer. Really great character if you haven't been following her in the Green Arrow book. So Robin very much goes out of his way to basically tell her, like, hey, I'm making you this great offer because, as we know, Damian's kind of a jerk. And she very much is like, I don't want to work with you because you're kind of a punk. And it goes from there, and the team still is going after Wally West. They want Wally West to come back. Wally West has been working with Deathstroke, if you've been reading the Deathstroke book. Really cool jumping on point. You don't need to know anything else about the Teen Titans other than that they are the Teen Titans, and Damian Wayne is kind of a jerk. So that's all you really need to know to jump in. So if you've been thinking about it, this is the perfect jumping on point, especially if you haven't been introduced to Emiko Queen, who I think is a great character and a lot of fun. So, like I said, it's our feature book of the week because it's the return of Kid Flash, man. What are you doing? Run out and grab it. No, don't do that because most comic shops are closed. Next thing we got shorted about 20 copies of this book, unfortunately. So there was a bunch of people who may not have got it, but it's the Flash book. This is Bats Out of Hell, part 1. It's the second big like tie-in storyline to Metal. The first one being the Gotham Resistance, which is actually a lot better than I thought it would be. Not that I'm like putting anybody down. It's just typically tie-in books. They seem forced and kind of shoehorned in, and it just doesn't work. Where the Gotham Resistance one was very smoothly put together. It was great. So I'm hoping this one is going to be kind of the same thing. We're going to see the Justice League members such as Flash, Wonder Woman, Superman. They're going to go up against a lot of their counterparts. Like Flash is going to go up against the Red Death, things of that nature. This is going to be a fun one, especially to see the Dark Batman go up against their somewhat counterparts from the Dark Multiverse. So obviously this is kind of the primer. It's going to introduce what this is. It's very much kind of a slugfest in the vein of like the old Avengers versus X-Men books where they were just the versus books. A lot of people thought those were kind of whack, but this is really cool. The first one was great. So it looks like we're going to get this for, it's going to cross over some other issues just like last time. And if anything, you know, that first one, the first big story, Gotham Resistance, was great. So I'm looking forward to this one too. So Flash was great. Like I said, we'll have more in a couple of weeks if you missed out on it here at the store. Otherwise, obviously, you know, your own local comic shop. But I would suggest picking it up, if anything, to give you a general idea of what the Flash has been bringing to the table, because the run on the Flash this so far has been absolutely fantastic. It's done by Williamson, Joshua Williamson, and the pencils by Howard Porter. So they're sticking with the same team that's been doing the Flash, not just shoehorning in some freelancer, which is great. As far as Teen Titans goes, I always got to give the art cred here. Benjamin Percy still writing it. We got Koi Pham doing the pencils, Trevor Scott doing the inks, and Charlotte Ampios doing the colors. Once again, great looking book. You know, most of the stuff I suggest here is pretty great, but I've really been liking this Teen Titans book a lot. Obviously, if we're going to talk about, you know, metal, we got to talk about the real metal, which this week we got another one shot. We got Batman the Merciless. So far, I mean, I've been talking about these for weeks now. The Drown last week was one of my favorites. I love the Murder Machine. Red Death is sold out just about everywhere, including here. This is the Merciless. It's very much the mashup between Wonder Woman and Batman. In this dark multiverse, obviously the minus Earths or whatever they want to call them, Batman and Wonder Woman are kind of a thing. They're in a war with Ares, who has taken over the planet. Batman loses Wonder Woman, and, you know, things go from there. He eventually takes on Ares, and then, you know, goes from there. I don't want to spoil it too much. If you're a fan of the Wonder Woman book, it's very much going to be up your alley. If you are just enjoying all the one-shots, you think they're all great, it's more of the same. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of action, a lot of darkness, things of that nature. It's really good. Is it my favorite one? No. I would probably put it towards the lower end of the spectrum. And that doesn't say anything about it being a bad book. It's just the quality has been so high in all of these books. It's tough to pick a favorite. But it's fun when people are coming in and they're saying, well, I like this one, and then this one, and then this one. And I'm hearing different things from different people, which tells me that we've got good books on our hands when people are kind of ranking things and not just being like, that sucks, and then just walking away, you know. So it's a fun one, especially if you're a fan of the Wonder Woman stuff. It's in that vein for sure. Written by Tomasi. Okay, yep. Written by Tomasi. The art's done by the amazing Francis Manipal. Tom Napolitano. It was the letterer. Jay Fabok did the cover. Really great stuff. More of the same as far as the Dark Knight's multiverse stuff goes. Stick with it. It's worth every penny so far. It's been absolutely fantastic. It's been a lot of fun. We're going to move on to some Marvel stuff. Marvel is really heavy this week because obviously we're knee-deep into Legacy right now. For those of you who haven't kind of joined us before, Legacy is very much it's very much kind of starting anew for a lot of these titles. We're getting Legacy numbering in Marvel. We are getting new story arcs and a lot of things. So far the jury's out. It's a little disconcerting because some of these stories kind of feel like more of the same and not a whole lot has changed. I've been liking the Marvel books for the most part, but it's been real tough to get people started on Marvel because they've had a not great reputation with readers right now. There's a lot of people who feel like that Marvel doesn't care about what they think anymore, and it's just been kind of a headache. But I'm here to tell you, the Marvel books are good. They really are, and these new story arcs are good jumping on points. Especially with a book like Jean Grey. I've been liking this book a lot more than a lot of the other X-Men stuff they've been doing. Don't get me wrong, I like X-Men Blue and Gold. This Mojo World crossover is just okay. A lot of people don't really get Mojo unless you're kind of from the 90s and you understand the character a little bit. This one is dealing more about young Jean Grey is now figuring out that the Phoenix is coming. So she's talking to just about everybody she can talk to about what to do about this Phoenix problem. Like, is she going to get overpowered? Is she going to go insane? Is she going to die like her older counterpart? You know, what's going to happen? So right now, she's very much in kind of a mind meld with the White Queen, Emma Frost, who is not a big fan of Jean, obviously. And it goes from there. So this entire issue takes place inside of the mind of Emma Frost, trying to keep Jean away from some information that she has. Really fun as far as being able to just like stretch their legs as artists and writers and as creators, being able to tell a really cool story where there's not a whole lot of boundaries there, but not getting too off the rails where it's just crazy visuals and all those things. For fans of old X stuff, especially like the new X-Men run, you're going to love this because it's a callback to history big time. It calls back to the time of like the Riot at Xavier's when the Stepford Cuckoos were the 5-in-1 instead of just the 3-in-1. So really fun, like a little history lesson here. It's called The Psych Wars Part 1. It's written by Dennis Hopeless, who's been doing a pretty good job. Victor Ibanez is doing the artist. It was the artist, and then the colorist is Chris Sotomayor. I love the White Queen as a character, and I love Jean Grey as a character, and you get those two together, and it's a spicy meatball. Let's just put it that way. That's a deep cut there. Next thing, I haven't been reading Black Panther for a while because, quite frankly, I've been finding it a bit boring. That's just me. I've never been like the world's biggest Black Panther fan. I know I'm wearing the shirt, da-da-da. But, I love the way he was portrayed in Civil War, and I want kind of more of that. And I didn't feel like I was really getting that out of the book, and it wasn't just me. We had a lot of subscribers dropping the book. This is a great chance to jump back on. This is getting a little bit more classic Black Panther, where instead of talking about the inner workings of Wakanda and stuff, this is more of a history lesson about the Claw. And the Claw is more of a Sonic villain. He's an old Black Panther villain, considered kind of whack to some people, but he's an important villain in the Black Panther mythos. And that's where this book comes in. You don't need to know anything else that's going on in the Black Panther book in order to pick this up and read it. It's an easy one. It's Black Panther 166. It's called Claw Stands Supreme Part 1. Written by... Sorry, I never do great show prep because, I'm working. It's still written by Ta-Nehisi Coates and penciled by Leonard Kirk. Inkers are Leonard Kirk and Mark Deering. Color artist is Laura Martin. If you're thinking about Black Panther or you've been avoiding Black Panther, this is a good jumping on point, and I actually really enjoyed this book. My only problem with Mr. Coates at first, he's an absolutely fantastic writer, but making the transition from prose to comics is a completely different animal, and he's starting to get the ropes for sure, and there's some good editing here as well, because I'm sure it's not easy. It's hard to go from one thing to another and try to make it good, You want it to be good. Everybody wants what they do to be good. So I really enjoyed this book a lot so far. So I'm going to stick with it for this next story arc, and you guys should try it too if you're really thinking about getting into Black Panther. Keeping with Legacy, we got Captain Marvel number 125. This is Dark Origins Part 1. Captain Marvel's been such a central point of the Marvel Universe in the comics for such a long time now. It's been probably 6-7 years. First, we got Kelly Sue DeConnick's Carol Corps that was going on that made her very, very popular. But then we kind of went off the rails a little bit with, the Civil War II made her the bad guy. Then we came back with Mighty Captain Marvel, which was a great book. But then we went into the Secret Empire where she got locked out of Earth and was fighting all that stuff. And she's back to being like the big hero again. Well, now this is kind of the aftermath of Secret Empire, even more so than the other aftermath of Secret Empire books. This one very much deals with the Alpha Flight space station is down. You know, it's basically done. The government has told her they're not going to fund it anymore, so there's no more Alpha Flight. So they're trying to figure out what they should do. They feel like they're space heroes. They want to be in space. And then there's a couple of things that happen. A villain returns, and it's very much them going back into space and deciding that they're going to go after a colleague of theirs. It's a fun one for jumping on to Captain Marvel. Once again, the only thing you really need to know is that Alpha Flight really technically no longer exists, but they want to keep it going as far as Puck, Sasquatch, Captain Marvel, and then some of their little interns they had on the space station during the Secret Empire. Great little jumping on point. Really great book. I love Captain Marvel. I suggest Captain Marvel to just about everybody when they ask me about stuff. It's a great one. As far as the writer is Margaret Stoll. Michelle Bandini is the artist. Colorist Eric Arciniega, I believe. So great little jumping on point as far as Captain Marvel goes. Great cover too, and I believe the cover is done by Phil Noto, and I love Phil Noto. He's got a very realism style to him. So another one of those legacy books, Captain Marvel 125. Should definitely check it out. I'm liking some of the legacy. Other stuff's, jury's out. I don't. You guys have been watching this for a while. I don't tend to trash stuff on this show. It's just, it doesn't help anything. If I don't like it, I just won't talk about it. It's pretty simple. By process of elimination, you guys can usually figure out, hey, he's never talked about this. Oh, I think I figured out why. Next thing is for a long time, I get people in complaining that they hate Jane Foster Thor, and, they wish Thor was a man, and da-da-da-da. Well, this is the book for you, because this is just a one-shot. It's very much just it's an Odin's son Thor book where it's called Where Walk the Frost Giants. It's just a classic take on just Thor getting into some mischief and messing up some frost giants. It's very basic. It's very easy. It's a fun book. It's very, like I said, it's a little bit different. It's funny because it's written by Ralph Macchio, and it's not Karate Kid Ralph Macchio. It's the old DC editor Ralph Macchio. He was editing books, back when I was a teenager. And the art's by Todd Knock, and I love Todd Knock, man. He's got very kind of a little bit more cartoony style, which I really enjoy in a lot of books. But this is just more of a classic Thor take. If you're kind of tired of all the drama and all the storylines and stuff, you can just reach into this guy and get yourself some basic stuff. Wrapping up from the big two is this book, Silver Surfer 14. And this isn't really a book that I'm going to tell you to go out and grab, mainly because the only reason I'm talking about this is going to be more of like a eulogy. This is the end of the run from Mike Allred, Laura Allred, and Dan Slott. They've been doing this thing with Dawn and Norrin Radd, who's, Silver Surfer. It's very much like a Doctor Who-ish book where they're just going off and having these adventures and these weird sci-fi scenarios. And, in all honesty, I'm not the biggest Mike Allred fan. I appreciate what he does, and I always love how colorful his books are and everything. But it's just never anything that I've been like, oh my god, it's the best thing ever. It's just, he's never really been in my top 10. But this book was it was perfect. It was, I didn't start reading it until much later, but it's very much, it's a love story where Dawn and Norrin go on these big adventures, but they're always together, and there's a lot of great stuff that happens, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of quirky stuff, but ultimately they settle down in a certain universe, and, time passes, and Dawn eventually, passes too, but Silver Surfer is, he is the power cosmic. And, he kind of wraps things up in a really well way. I tweeted last night that I was very, very satisfied with the ending. And my tweet got picked up by one of the Marvel editors, I guess. So, some people were chiming in, which I thought was great. But I'm going to miss this book for sure. And it was a great little run. It's not for your typical, wham bam superhero stuff. It's very much meant for more of the sci-fi geek in ya. And if you enjoy some more emotional stories, because there's a few stories in this run that'll, they'll get you a little bit misty unless you're, dead inside, which typically I am. But not in this book. Not dead inside in this book. So you can always pick these up in trade. Otherwise, you can always pick up number 14, read through it, and then want to work your way back. That's fine, too. I don't have everything in the back stock, but we could always do the trades if you're in the store. Otherwise, your own local comic book shop. But kudos to Dan Slott and the Allreds. Laura and Mike and everybody else who worked on this book. It's a hell of an achievement. Tom Brevoort is the editor. Great achievement on this whole run, and just want to say thanks to you guys for doing that. It made me a believer. I'm not even a Silver Surfer guy at all, and like I said, I've never been the biggest fan of Mike Allred's stuff. Not saying he's bad. I'm just saying it just never really spoke to me as much as it spoke to me in this book. Although I did love the ecstatic stuff. The ecstatic stuff they were doing was très magnifique. Couple of, let's see here. Not a whole lot in the indie stuff. Most of the indie stuff this week was stuff that's like long into their runs already, so I'm not going to delve into that stuff too much. We did get a new Hack and Slash. Hack and Slash is one of those, it's been around for a long time. It's interesting. It's very much, if you like kind of goofball horror stuff, this is totally for you. At one point in time, Cassie and her partner, I always forget the guy's name. Her name's Cassie Hack. I always forget his name, man. They were going out and hunting serial killers and things. It's really interesting. It's been around for a long time. This is a good little jumping on point. Written by Teenie Howard. The art's by Salor. Colors by Michael Russell. It's Hack and Slash Resurrection. Like I said, they've been around up and down for quite a while. It's a good one to start kind of the Halloween season. Fun little book. It was, I don't know a ton about their history. I've read some stuff in the past. But this is very much Cassie's just trying to stay away from everything. She doesn't want to do what she was doing anymore. But unfortunately, people have found her, and she's getting dragged back into that life. So it's a fun one. I'm not a huge horror guy, as most people know. When they come in the store, they're like, "Oh, what do you think of horror stuff?" Like, I'm not really a horror guy. There was even like a DC horror thing that came out this week. I didn't read it, so I didn't talk about it because it's just not my thing. I don't really care. But I read this because it's the resurrection of Cassie Hack, and this has always been kind of a fun little book from Image. So check it out if you feel like next time you're in a store. And obviously, I had to talk about number 2 of Fujitsu, which a long time ago, about a month ago, I did a little short video for Aftershock Comics about Fujitsu. Really fun for anybody who likes old school like Chinese action flicks. Just a lot of craziness, a lot of sci-fi elements. Just a fun little book, man. Aftershock Comics has been killing it with a lot of things, but this is one of my favorites for sure. Jai Nitz and Wesley St. Clair are doing this book. This is the second one. Might have to go out and try to find the first one or possibly have it ordered. But so far so good. I hope it continues. I've really been liking this book. We're going to talk about a few little trades here, and then I'm going to get going. I know I don't normally talk about trades, but like I said, there wasn't a ton of stuff to talk about. First things, if you got a little girl who's trying to get into comics, these things are perfect. We actually just restocked the DC Superhero Girls line. I've constantly been keeping them in stock, but I just got all 3 back in stock at the same time, so I figured I'd talk about them. These are great little starting books for anybody, girl or boy, just because they're a little more simple to read, and they're great for kids that are just starting to learn how to read, and they're for all ages. They've been pushing this line of like dolls and toys and Target and things, but these are the books. They're thicker like graphic novels, so they're not just single standalone. A little depressing they're not single standalone, mainly because there's only been 3 books, so once they finish these 3, they gotta wait for another one, and it's been taking months. So hopefully more people will start reading these, and they can get after DC and tell them they would want a more regular monthly book, and it'd be nice if the book came out monthly. But these are great for someone who's just starting to get into comics or really wants to get into comics, but they're little, 7, 8 years old, can't read Wonder Woman because there's too much blood or gore or anything. This is your next best thing. It gets them used to like the pacing of comics and reading of comics and how to kind of jump from panel to panel and sequential storytelling as a whole. So good little thing, especially for nieces, nephews, sons, daughters, things of that nature. Even if you want to try to teach your dog to read, I've tried to teach my dog to read. She has nothing of it. She's like, I already know, motherfucker. Other trades we got, let's see here. If you want to read about the Captain Marvel thing that I said, where they kind of made her the bad guy, Civil War II is now in trade paperback. This guy sets you back right around $35. Overall, I don't think it's a bad story. it's just it just sucked to see, you know, Captain Marvel be put on on what I kind of considered the wrong side of history, leading into the Secret Empire. But hey, you know, everybody's got a different opinion. Some people thought that she was in the right. Like I said, it wasn't a bad story. It just left a sour taste in the mouths of comic book retailers because it was late and problematic, and it was just kind of a headache for us, and people didn't really like it. But there are some moments in this book that are very, very good. Written by Bendis, art is done by Marquez. The art and story, I mean, the art is absolutely stunning, especially, you know, David Marquez and the color artist Justin Ponsor. The art is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And, you know, Bendis, you get a solid story. You know, I love the solid story from Bendis. He's always, in my opinion, gold. But this one was just, it got drawn out a little too long. But I would still check it out if you like. So it is available in softcover. Obviously, for you members out there of us, you get 25% off. Next one, we've talked about the Weapons of Mutant Destruction here, especially because the book that introduces Weapon H is now a really expensive book. It's like hovering at the $40, $50, $60 range. This is a great way for you to read that whole story and see the introduction of Weapon H without having to spend $1 zillion. So this is available now in trade paperback from Marvel, $17.99. It'll set you back. Otherwise, once again, if you're a member with us, it's 25% off. One thing I just wanted to talk about, I've been getting these myself, and this is going to kind of wrap it up. I was getting trades at first, but DC's been doing these deluxe hardcovers. I love hardcovers just because obviously they fit on a shelf a little better. They don't get all warpy if the shelf's not full or anything like that. And these are a little bit more oversized. And one of the things I like about these is that they're technically 2 volumes in one. So, you know, this thing collects a lot more than your normal just trade. And the trades will set you back $16.99 a piece, where this is just $34.99. So, I mean, you look at the difference between Marvel, $34.99 for a soft cover, or DC, $34.99 for a hardcover that's essentially like 2 volumes. So I've gotten a bunch of these so far. I've actually haven't been getting trades anymore, and I switched to hardcovers. And for you members out there at Warp 9 here, these are 25% off for you guys, so you save even more money. So if there's a run in DC that you're really liking, that you prefer hardcover, come talk to me. It's not something that we're going to order and keep on the shelf, because hardcovers are a really tough sell for us, especially at like a $35 hit retail. But I will order them for you. I've been loving them, especially in the oversized, you know, kind of volumes. It's been, I mean, not super oversized, but just a little bigger. It's been really nice, and they look great on the shelf with all like the, you know, the white with the little blue, so I know where all my Rebirth stuff is. So it's really, really cool. So $35, man. Think about it. It's good stuff. That's gonna be it. Not, like I said, not a ton of stuff today. I went over some of my favorites, and obviously there's a lot more to read. There was actually quite a bit of stuff that came out this week. It's just most of the stuff is kind of in mid-storyline. So I'll talk about more on Friday. One of the things I wanted to talk about, though, I said, and I'm going to talk about this more on Friday too, I did get South Park Fractured But Whole, and it's absolutely fantastic. If you played the first South Park game, it's very similar, but just more of it. They changed the combat system for the better. Lots more stuff to find, lots more stuff to explore. Cool little power structure for you to go up on. They just improved on an already very solid game. So if you haven't played it, I would definitely check it out, especially because it doesn't take much thought. It's very much just a game that you can sit down and just explore and have fun, and you don't got to think too much of it. It can get a little harder towards you know, where I'm at in the middle, but it's nothing that feels like it's overly frustrating. Friday is going to be Mario Day. I know I keep saying, I'll be back Friday. I'm going to stream video games on Friday. Like I said, I've been having some other stuff in my personal life that I've been having to deal with. But with Mario coming out, I'm super excited, and I am going to stream on Friday as long as I don't have any technical difficulties like I had on Sunday. But it should be just fine, and it's going to be a good time. So I know the stream, I think, is starting to drop out a little bit, unfortunately. If you missed anything, obviously, check it out on YouTube. I will have this up either Friday or Saturday. And yeah, that's just about it. That's your Warp 9 Wednesday. Any questions for me? Email me at extrasecretgaming@gmail.com. Questions for the store, email the store at warp9comics@gmail.com. Otherwise, like I said, this will be up on YouTube. If you are watching this on YouTube, hey man, hit the subscribe button. You know, if you got any questions, It's the same stuff. Just email me. It's all good. I'll probably get back to you. Even if you want to tell me how bad I suck, don't do that. I'm fragile. I'm a fragile guy. You don't want to tell me how bad I suck. Just kidding. I really don't mind. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. I'm gonna go get some food. Bye.